Welcome back to Phoenix English classes. Today we are going to continue with the same chapter Indigo, written by Louis Fisher. Up to now we have read how Gandhiji reached Champaran, and there he investigated and found that the oppression of the peasants was at its heights. The problem that was told to him by Rajkumar Shukla was many-fold greater than he could have understood at the time when he heard that there is some problem with the peasants in Champaran. The problem of exploitation, oppression and inhuman treatment was so much pervaded that Gandhiji's arrival to Champaran was out of their capacity of forbearance. The authorities could not swallow the fact that someone has come to fight for the sake of these peasants who have been deprived of any of the rights in the world as human beings. And because it was very difficult for them to swallow that an Indian, a colored man, a black man, was there to fight against the steel bureaucracy of the British government, they lost their temperament. First, Gandhiji was ordered to leave Motihari. When he denied leaving Motihari, his trial was started. The magistrate issued an order of arrest of Gandhiji and to bring him to the court of law to give him lesson. But this time it was not to be, because Gandhiji was not the man who would have ever tolerated such things. And now the peasants felt that the only hope in the form of Gandhiji would also be lost in this dark, this carnal dark of the British Empire and landlords. They were up and they had taken a decision to fight for their leader. It was all against the idea that the leader fought for the people, but contrary, it was the people who were ready to fight for their leader. And the true power of democracy lies in this very thought, or the gist, that the leaders are being given an active support and power and help by the public, by the common people. Up to now we have heard this. Gandhiji presented himself before the jury. He asked for the penalty due, yet in front of the power of the common people, whom they never look at as the human beings, compelled the jury to send Gandhiji back. Although they did not take back the case, yet they were compelled to send Gandhiji back to do his job without receiving any bail, because Gandhiji denied, I will not take bail. It means Gandhiji was not afraid at all. He was not thinking anything about himself or his going to jail, but he was thinking only about his cause, and that was to bring justice to these peasants, which he knew is not possible through the court. This battle will be won under the open sky in the form of the movement, in the form of that very movement which he had already planned as soon as he came to know that there is problem, the real problem faced by these peasants. Let's continue. Follow the lines in your book and you will understand it better than ever. Several days later, Gandhi received a written communication from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. Gandhiji knew that these are the tactics of the English people, that they have released me because they are afraid that the situation of law and order will become worse in Champaran, in Motihari, but they will soon leap back. This was the tactics of the bureaucracy and the judiciary system and the British Empire. They leap back as soon as they find the conditions favorable. They leapt back, and in that case Gandhiji had to be arrested, but he had already planned that we will go to jail. If Gandhiji is arrested, all the advocates will give their court arrest. After knowing all these developments of the movement that was against the injustice done to the peasants, the governor took notice of it. Several days later, several days passed, Gandhiji was still investigating into the matter, and he was trying to find out a solution of the problem either by the court or out of the court, which he was sure will be done out of the court. Every settlement will be done out of the court. Gandhiji received a written communication from the magistrate informing him that the lieutenant governor of the province had ordered the case to be dropped. This time, that same district magistrate who had given him the order to leave Motihari at once came with a written communication of the governor saying that the governor had decided the case on you to be dropped. The threatening that was given in the court of law by the jury that we are not going to close this case, Mr. Gandhi, we will do it. We mean it. And that case was dropped by the governor, and now Gandhiji was free and he did not have to go to the court of law for any of the hearing. The case has been taken back. Civil disobedience has come the first time in modern India, and this is the epoch-making decision or the moment where India witnessed for the very first time the victory of civil disobedience. You would have heard this name too much, you would have read it in the social study and in class 10th, and those who have opted for humanities and are reading the history and civics, they are still reading this very movement which we call the civil disobedience movement, Savinay Avagya Andolan. If we will have time, we will discuss later from where Gandhiji picked this very idea of civil disobedience and how did he apply this very thought in India and how it was a success. Gandhi and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct a far-flung inquiry into the grievances of the farmers. Now Gandhiji was all free and he started his investigation in full swing. Now Gandhiji and other lawyers who were present there to support Gandhiji, they started collecting the evidences and proceedings and the inquiries into the grievances of the farmers. What were the grievances? What were the matter? What was the points on which what were the grounds on which we will find the landlords breaking rules, or they are trying to commit some fraud or cheating the farmers? It was being investigated into, and all the landlords, either British or the Indians, they were scared as anything because they had done that fraud in each and every document that they call the contract. Depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written down. Depositions were taken. The notary was taken. The oath was taken on stamp paper by the farmers, and they recorded their witness also. And notes made on other evidences. Other evidences were also collected. And in this way, documents were collected. The whole area throbbed with the activity of the investigators and the vehement protest of the landlords. And the result was that, as a consequence of all these proceedings that was being done by Gandhiji and his fellow barristers, the whole area started throbbing. Throbbing is especially used for your heart. But if there is throbbing in the atmosphere, it means all the hearts were throbbing with great enthusiasm to fight against the oppression, to fight against the injustice that was being done with the peasants. The whole area was feeling the same surge of energy and life, as we can call that this was the beginning of an awakening of the downtrodden people. It was being done, and the landlords who had been unquestioned every time, nobody dared raise a little finger against them, they were being opposed by the peasants. Peasants started protesting the landlords. In June, Gandhi was summoned to Sir Edwin Gate, the Lieutenant Governor. The proceedings were going on. The situation was becoming worse. Everybody was afraid in the side of the British and the Indian landlords, and they wanted the mediation of the Lieutenant Governor, and it happened in the month of June. In the month of June, Sir Edward Gate, who was the Lieutenant Governor of the province, he summoned Gandhiji to appear before him. Before he went, he met leading associates and again laid detailed plans for civil disobedience if he should not return. Gandhiji knew all these tactics of the British people. He said it is possible that they are doing some kind of tricks, they are playing some kind of tricks against us, and it is there is a huge possibility of my arrest as soon as I present myself in front of the governor. So it is possible that he is calling for a talk, but as soon as I appear in front of him, he would send me to the jail and send me out of this province. Even the slightest possibility of such kind of a thing could not be taken for granted. Gandhiji once again called all his fellow barristers and lawyers, and once again he chalked a plan. If Gandhiji were arrested, what will they do? They will also give the court arrest as it was previously decided. The same plan was again set. It was a B plan. If there is a talk between the Lieutenant Governor and Gandhiji, then it's all okay. The talk will go on. We will try to solve the problem. If not, if there is a chance of betrayal, then the other fellows, the other associates will start the second plan, and that was to give court arrest in the court of law, and there will be a situation of law and order. Gandhi had 4 protracted interviews with the Lieutenant Governor, who as a result appointed an official commission of inquiry into the indigo sharecroppers situation. There were marathon meetings between Gandhiji and the governor, and the consequences were very good. The result was very good. It was an overwhelming result that governor agreed on the point that governor is going to depute a committee, an official commission, who would look into the matter of the indigo sharecroppers, and what was the actual situation will come out. The commission consisted of landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants. This commission was was not only an official commission, though it was an official commission, but only officers were not a part of it, because there can be the problem, or there can be an objection that you have done injustice with us and now you are inquiring into the matter, what will be the result? This is the situation of today's politics and inquiries. Those who are found guilty, they themselves are being given the privilege to inquire into the matter and escort themselves free. This is happening in India nowadays, and it is the worst thing that can happen in a democracy or even in an autocracy. It should not be allowed, but it is a fashion nowadays in politics. But at that time, even though they were the foreigners, even though they were the invaders, yet they had certain kind of ethics and they followed it, not wholly, not completely, but in part only. See, what was the commission? The commission comprises landlords, government officials and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants. It was not a balanced committee, yet there was a man who could balance anything, and that was Gandhiji. Gandhiji was the representative of the landlords. Now, Gandhiji was the representative of the peasants. Landlords sent their own representative, and the government official, who will also be a third and neutral party. And how it is imbalanced? Gandhiji for sure was in the side of the peasants. There is no question on his faithfulness or his sincerity. Landlords were to present their own views, their own side, and that was one-sided, no doubt. And the government official, who was also a part of the commission, is undoubtedly the part which would join hands together with the landlords. It means this committee was not overall balanced, yet we could believe, because Gandhiji was there and he could balance everything. Gandhiji was the only representative in that committee. Gandhi remained in Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months and then again for several shorter visits. Gandhiji remained in Champaran for initial uninterrupted period of 7 months. He had paid a visit with a view to seeing what was going on there, what is required there, and will come back in a week or two, in a fortnight or in a month. But what happened there, that made him stay for 7 months. For 7 months, Gandhiji was continuously present in Champaran. He did not leave the station for 1 minute. This was the time period that he spent in Champaran at a stretch. Then after once the things were smooth and the things were at ease, he left Champaran, but not for ever. He came back to Champaran and paid many visits to Champaran. The visit undertaken casually or on the entreaty of an unlettered peasant in the expectation that it would last a few days occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life. You can think how devoted was Gandhi for the sake of the downtrodden and the exploited people, that he paid a casual visit on the entreaty, on the request of a simple peasant, Rajkumar Shukla. And the view was very simple, that it would last a few days only. It is a matter of few days only. He will go, he will look into the matter and will try to bring justice if there is any. But what happened took 12 months, about 12 months of Gandhiji, 7 months at a stretch and shorter visits of 15 days, 10 days, 5 days. In this way, he completed almost 1 year in Champaran. The official inquiry assembled a crushing mountain of evidences. The official inquiry which started, that was formed by the Lieutenant Governor. It started its inquiry, and there was a crushing mountain of evidences put in front of the inquiry commission by Gandhi. Gandhiji presented lots of documents. He had done lots of exercise before all this happened and inquiry was set up. He put all the documents in front of the commission and said that first you have to investigate into the matter thoroughly and try to understand what has happened. This first initiative was the crashing initiative for the landlords and the official group. And all the evidences were against the big planters and the landlords, and when they saw, they agreed. They saw the documents and they knew that our thievery, our loot has been caught. We cannot make a fool of everybody. Now the written documents are there, the evidences are there. There are statements of different farmers and peasants and other people, and we cannot deny all that. They knew that they have lost the case. They agreed in principle. They agreed, the landlords agreed after looking at the documents, and the mountain of documents were there. They could not face all the oppression that they had done, and it was as a evidence on the table to make refunds to the peasants. They accepted that they had done those kinds of cheating which has come on the board, and said that the refunds must be done to the peasant. They themselves accepted that the money they hoarded from the hard hands was illegal and it should be refunded to the peasants. But how much must we pay? But the next question was that how much should we pay? Because we have taken, we have collected, we have hoarded a lot of money, and it is a very big amount. What part of the amount or how much amount will be refunded to the peasants? They asked Gandhiji. They thought he would demand repayment in full of the money which they had illegally and deceitfully extorted from the sharecroppers. No doubt, on asking the question to Gandhiji, how much should we return, they knew if you have cheated someone of his money, you have to give it back to him in full. There is no question what part of the money. You did not do any job for him, but you have looted him, and now you say what part of money should we give back to him. They knew, when they asked the question, they knew it well that Gandhiji said whatever you have collected from them, what you have extorted for them or cheated, you have to give it back to them. But there was an amazing thing that happened at that time. They thought he would demand payment in full of the money which they had illegally and deceitfully extorted from the sharecroppers. He asked only 50%. This was the situation of table talk. Gandhiji won the battle in the street, in the court, on the road, in the public. But as soon as it comes to the table, he lost it. They thought that he would say the amount which is extorted should be returned. One thing can be considered, that don't pay any interest on it. Justice says if you have looted someone, then you will pay it back with interest. The interest can be left. But Gandhiji, he took an amazing result, and he gave a proposal that 50% of the money should be given back to the peasants. There he seemed adamant. Writes Reverend J.Z. Hodge, a British missionary in Champaran, who observed the entire episode at close range. At this point, when he said 50%, everybody knew. There was observer also. His name was Reverend J.Z. Hodge. He was a clergyman. He was a British missionary in Champaran, and he was appointed the observer. Observers do not take part in the proceedings of any kind of inquiry or meeting. They only observe the things and write their report. Nothing else. They do not intervene. The observer, who was really a neutral person, he said that when Gandhiji said 50% is enough to return, he himself knew. The observer, the neutral observer, believed that Gandhiji will not compromise anymore. 50% means 50%. Thinking probably that he would not give way, the representatives of the planters offered to refund the extent of 25%, and to his amazement, Mr. Gandhi took him at his word, thus breaking the deadlock. This is the worst thing about Indian table talk, and it had been, it is still there. We fight the battle, we won the battle, we become victorious in the field, on the ground, but we always lose grounds on the table talk. This happened in Shimla Pact, we return the land we won to Pakistan. At that time, or for that pact, Indira Gandhi is responsible, Gandhiji was not responsible. And don't think that it was only the title Gandhi that does it. No, this is the Indian philosophy of politics. We become victorious, we win with the sword and we lose with the pen. We lose on the battle. That had happened in this case also. This is historical. All the planters knew that 50% means 50%, it is already less than we had expected. They knew that nothing can be done after that 50% arrangement. Yet they said, Gandhiji, it will be very difficult for us to return those 50% of the extorted money. It would be good if we return only 25%. Everybody knew that Gandhi will oppose this kind of any proposal, but to amazement of everybody, even the neutral J.Z. Hodge also says it was really surprising that Gandhiji agreed on 25% return. And he said, okay. And thus, he broke the deadlock. This is really amazing. This is the biggest amazement that you can think. But we are the Indians and we do such kind of surprises. This settlement was adopted unanimously by the commission. What else they could demand for? All the parties agreed. The commission unanimously decided that 25% of the extorted money will be given back to the peasants. Rest of that 75% will reside with the extorters. Those who were extortists, they will be benefited. Gandhi explained that the amount of refund was less important than the fact that the landlords had been obliged to surrender part of money and with it part of indigo, part of their prestige. Gandhiji, returning back from that commission and this result or this decision, explained the matter to the peasants. He said that the part of money that they are giving you back, only 25%, that is of not greater importance, as it is important that the landlords have not surrendered only 25% of money, but also the part of their prestige, and that is of greater importance. Therefore, as far as peasants were concerned, the planters had behaved as lords above the law. The simple reason was that so far as peasants were concerned, the landlords and planters behaved with the peasants like the lords, like the gods. Whatever they said, that was the justice and that was the law. But now, because they had to surrender money, their prestige was also being surrendered, and they felt, or they will realize that they are not lords of these peasants. Now the peasants saw that they had rights and defenders. Now peasants had seen and believed and came to know that they also had right in British India, and they also had the leaders like Gandhiji who would fight for their cause and will save them. Will save them only 25%, 75% will not be saved, or 75% will be in the part of the offenders. He learned courage, but one thing was 100% that came towards the peasant side, that they learned how to courage. The battle was won only because they showed courage and they fought against the bureaucracy, law and the landlords. Events justified Gandhi's position. Afterwards, the events that had taken place that justified Gandhi's position of this point that the money is not important, the part of prestige that they have surrendered or they had to surrender was of greater importance. Within a few years, the British planters abandoned their estates because it was not beneficial now. Many planters who were British, they left their estates, they left the place also, which reverted to the peasants. And as soon as the estates were forsaken by the British landlords, the lands were given to the peasants. Peasants got their land back. Indigo sharecropping disappeared, and the contract farming, which the peasants also thought that it was in their favor, and as a bait they had swallowed it, it disappeared, because all the things were now clear that this kind of a contract farming or sharecropping is never in favor of the peasants, and that kind of sharecropping vanished from Champaran forever. We will stop here. In next class, we will try to cover up the whole topic, and the chapter will perhaps come to an end in the next video. Till then, revise the video, keep studying, be safe at home. Goodbye.